The title references a $380 million hotel. Based on the searches, the most relevant match is the Harmon Tower at City Center, a $275 million structure that was demolished before ever opening. The $380 million figure in the title may be a creative, editorial choice referencing the broader city center investment attributed to that building, or the title is slightly inflated for YouTube. Let me search specifically for the Harmon Tower's full financials and lawsuit details to get verified data. I now have comprehensive, verified data on the Harmon Tower. The video title says $380 million. The verified cost is $275 million spent by MGM, but the broader settlement dispute reached $500 million, and the total city center project was $8.5 billion. I'll note the $275 million as the verified construction cost and reference the $500 million legal dispute. Now I have enough to write the full, accurate script. A note on the $380 million figure in the title. The verified construction cost is $275 million. MGM's confirmed spend per SEC filings and ENR. The title likely inflates this for YouTube engagement purposes. I will use the verified $275 million figure in the script as the documented cost, while contextualizing the total financial losses which exceeded that number substantially. A 2.8-story shell on the Las Vegas Strip sat empty for 6 years, wrapped in the largest vinyl advertisement ever draped over a building in America. The lights on either side of it blazed all night. Inside, nothing. Not a single guest had ever checked in. Not one room had been turned down. The Harmon Hotel cost $275 million to build and never opened. Then it was torn apart, floor by floor, because the engineers who tested its bones concluded it could not survive an earthquake. This is that building. Welcome to the complete Harmon Tower script. A 2.8-story glass tower on the Las Vegas Strip shook whenever the desert wind picked up. Not dramatically, not visibly, just enough that the steel embedded in its concrete core flexed in ways the original blueprints never accounted for, because the steel was in the wrong place. In some floors, it was barely there at all. Clark County inspectors, reviewing work already buried under 22 stories of poured concrete, found that the rebar in the link beams across 15 floors had been improperly installed or was missing entirely. Engineers ran the calculations. The verdict was clinical. The building would likely collapse in a code-level earthquake. A 50% chance within 30 years. Nobody moved in. Nobody was allowed to. The Harmon Hotel, Spa and Residences stood at the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Harmon Avenue. A 2.5-acre parcel inside the $8.5 billion city center megaproject. It was the only building in that 6-7-acre complex that never opened. For 6 years, it served a single function: advertising space. A vinyl wrap that cost roughly $1 million covered its blue glass facade, promoting Cirque du Soleil shows and restaurant openings happening 100 feet away. The most expensive billboard in Nevada, a monument to what happens when the fastest construction boom in American history outpaces the people paid to watch over it. Welcome to the Harmon Tower. The Harmon was announced in October 2006, designed by the globally celebrated firm Foster & Partners, and planned as a 4.9-story non-gaming luxury hotel with 400 rooms and 207 condominium units. MGM Mirage and Dubai World were the co-developers of City Center, and the Harmon was sold to investors as a private sanctuary for celebrities seeking refuge from the strip floor below. Condo sales opened in January 2008. Andrew Sasson, chief of the Light Group, the hotel management company hired to run the property, described it as a place for high rollers who wanted airport pickup, personal shoppers, and a back entrance away from paparazzi. The promised amenities included a Mr. Chow restaurant and a salon by Frederic Fekkai. By July 2008, the building had already been compromised from within. 3 forces converged to make the Harmon possible, and all 3 made it dangerous. The first was pure financial velocity. Between 2004 and 2008, Las Vegas, was in the middle of the largest privately financed construction project in American history. City Center alone carried an $8.5 billion price tag, with construction moving at a pace that left almost no margin for the kind of quality control that tall concrete buildings demand. The second force was regulatory. Clark County did not verify the credentials of on-site inspectors. The two Converse Consultants inspectors assigned to oversee rebar placement at the Harmon had, according to subsequent court findings, falsified 62 daily inspection reports between March and July 2008. One of those inspectors had almost no prior experience in building inspections. The county's chief of building, Ron Lynn, acknowledged afterward that there had been an apparent breakdown in the inspection process. The third force was the structure of subcontracting itself. Pacific Coast Steel, a San Diego-based subcontractor to general contractor Tutor Perini, was responsible for the rebar installation. The error was not caught in real time. By the time anyone looked closely, 22 floors had been poured. The Harmon was not a rogue anomaly. It was the logical output of a system designed to build fast, verify late, and assign blame after the fact. The engineering problem at the Harmon is, at its core, a problem about how concrete structures resist sideways force. Concrete is strong in compression, meaning it handles weight, pushing straight down extremely well. But it is weak in tension, meaning it resists being pulled apart or twisted sideways much less effectively. Rebar, the steel reinforcing bars embedded inside concrete before it is poured, exists specifically to carry that tensile load. Think of rebar as the skeleton inside a cast. The cast holds its shape under normal pressure, but without the skeleton, a sharp sideways blow shatters it. In the Harmon's link beams, the structural elements that connect reinforced concrete walls and allow the whole tower to act as a single seismic unit, Pacific Coast Steel placed the diagonal reinforcing bars incorrectly or omitted them altogether across 15 floors. The Weidlinger Associates report, commissioned by MGM and delivered in 2012, found defects in columns, beams, shear walls, and transfer walls throughout the tower below the 21st floor. The language was unambiguous. The defects were so pervasive and varied in character that repair was not considered feasible. The skeleton was broken before the building was finished. Everything else was supposed to hang from it. Construction halted in 2008. The condo program was canceled in January 2009. MGM scrapped the upper 21 floors, and the building was capped and shelled at 28 stories. In March 2010, MGM called the Harmon a total loss and removed general contractor Tutor Perini from the project entirely. Perini responded in the same month with a lawsuit and mechanics lien against MGM and Dubai World, seeking $492 million in unpaid city center construction costs. MGM countersued, arguing that Perini was responsible for the structural defects. The legal standoff froze the building in place. Neither side could demolish it while it remained evidence in active litigation. The Harmon sat there for 4 more years, an unfinished concrete shell wrapped in advertisements, as lawyers filed motions and judges reassigned cases. Clark County District Judge Elizabeth Gonzalez eventually approved demolition in August 2013, but Perini's lawyers fought it, arguing that the building's physical presence was irreplaceable as evidence. The demolition was delayed again. MGM's additional testing of the structure during litigation caused, according to Perini's own engineering consultant, more damage than anticipated. The case had become self-perpetuating. By 2014, city center officials had calculated a 50% probability of a collapse-inducing earthquake within 30 years. Floor-by-floor deconstruction finally began in June 2014. It could not be imploded, as Las Vegas hotels traditionally are, because it stood too close to the Crystal Shopping Center. The piece-by-piece dismantling took more than a year and cost an additional $11.5 million. By August 2015, the building was gone. The story broke publicly in stages. The first significant press coverage appeared in 2008, when Clark County confirmed that the structural work on the Harmon did not match the plans submitted for permit approval. But the event that forced the story into sharp focus came in 2012, when MGM filed the Widlinger Associates structural report in Clark County District Court. The Las Vegas Review-Journal published the findings in detail. The engineering language, translated into plain terms, said the building standing on one of the most trafficked stretches of pavement in the world was likely to fall down. Condo buyers who had placed deposits in January 2008 had already received refunds after the condo component was canceled in early 2009. MGM reported saving approximately $200 million by eliminating the residential floors, nearly half of which had already been pre-sold. But those savings masked the larger figure. By the time the $500 million civil dispute between MGM and Perini finally settled on the 16th of December 2014, the day opening statements were scheduled to begin, the total losses attached to the Harmon had reached a scale that no single line item fully captured. The financial damage fell across several parties. MGM Resorts had spent $275 million on the Harmon by the time construction stopped, according to figures the company disclosed in SEC filings. The total settlement on the construction defect claims, combined with prior insurance settlement proceeds of approximately $85 million, resulted in what MGM reported to the SEC as roughly $195 million in total settlement proceeds flowing back to City Center. Against a $500 million dispute, MGM paid Perini $153 million directly, with $72 million of that drawn from escrow accounts originally funded by City Center condo presales. The 207 condo buyers who had placed deposits in early 2008 had received their money back, but they had bought into a building that no longer existed, in a market that had collapsed around them. Tudor Perini, which reported receiving net settlement proceeds of $189.5 million, simultaneously had to pay $11 million back to City Center. Converse Consultants, the inspection firm whose 2 employees had falsified 62 reports, was suspended by Clark County from working on any new projects for 6 months. One of its inspectors had already left the company. The other was demoted. No criminal charges were filed. As architectural critic James S. Russell wrote for Bloomberg News at the time, the building's design had been phoned in by Foster, its blue reflective glass facade, a cross between a disco ball and a 1970s mirrored, glass office tower. The people who had paid deposits for a celebrity sanctuary got their checks back. The building that was supposed to house them was dismantled with a crane. Maybe the defenders of City Center have a point. The rest of the complex is profitable. The Aria, the Vdara, the Veer Towers, the Crystals Mall, all opened in December 2009 and have operated continuously since. The Harmon was one building among dozens, and the system eventually caught the error, demolished the evidence, settled the claims, and moved on. That is not nothing. Early aviation had catastrophic structural failures that informed the engineering standards that made commercial flight safe. Early steel frame skyscrapers buckled under wind loads before engineers understood how lateral forces worked. It is possible the Harmon is simply the price of figuring out how to build faster than the oversight can keep pace. Or maybe the lesson is darker than that. Maybe the inspectors who falsified 62 reports in 4 months were not anomalies, but the predictable output of a system that valued speed over verification and assigned accountability only when the concrete was already dry. The site where the Harmon stood was sold in 2021. A 4-story shopping mall called 63 opened there in 2023. On the Las Vegas Strip tonight, the other towers of City Center are fully lit. Thousands of rooms are occupied. Somewhere beneath their foundations, steel sits inside concrete, and no one who poured it is thinking about whether every bar landed exactly where the drawing said it should.